Is democracy still America's sacred cause? I mean it. This is not rhetorical, academic, or hypothetical. Whether democracy is still America's sacred cause is the most urgent question of our time. And it's what the 2024 election is all about.
That was President Biden at the start of the year outside the Valley Forge in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania, in an event that was largely considered the launch of his re-election bid. 7 months later, MSNBC's Simone Sanders Townsend and MSNBC legal analyst Melissa Murray sat down with a group of black women from that same town to discuss Biden's debate performance and whether the campaign can be saved. And Melissa Murray joins us now. She is Stokes Professor at New York University School of Law. And Simone, why don't you set the scene for us a little bit more than I did to give us context for this conversation? This is right after the debate, correct?
Yes, correct. Thanks so much, Miko. So on Sunday, the Sunday right after the debate, Melissa and I traveled to one of the states that's going to be critical for both candidates, Trump and Biden, in this 2024 election, Pennsylvania. And we went to Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, to Blue Bell. And we sat down and had a wide-ranging conversation with 7 intergenerational women, and they all knew each other. Many of them knew Melissa, which is how we kind of sourced and found different women in the area. And we talked about a lot, but as a part of our conversation, Melissa and I thought it was important to make sure we talk about the recent events that happened, the debate, these calls for the president to step down, and what these women, these black women in the suburbs who will be deciders in this election, black women all across this country, about what they think the path forward should be. So it was great.
All right, let's take a look at part of the conversation where the women react to the actual debate. Take a look.
Did anybody here think that Joe Biden, after seeing that first debate, that Joe Biden should drop out of the race?
I hoped that both candidates would drop out of the race.
Oh.
Both. I didn't like either one of them. I didn't think they represented the United States well. And that's, to Joy's point, being in a different country. I traveled outside the country a while ago to visit Joy, and I get it. People are looking at the United States like, what are you all doing? What are you all collectively smoking? Right. It's embarrassing. So I wanted them both to drop out.
Same here. Absolutely. Wish they would both drop out. I'm a bit worried about Biden's ability to be able to run a country. I don't know if he'll be able to do it if he is elected for the next 4 years. And I do think he does have other options within the party who could step up and carry out similar things that he wants to be carried out. It just doesn't, I don't think it should be him.
Trump is only a few years younger than Biden. Do you worry about his ability to run the country?
Not just age, but like mentally.
Okay.
That man is
cognitively. Yeah.
That man is unhinged. Absolutely. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't trust Trump at all.
All right, so Simone, you can take it to Melissa, by the way. I just wonder what you both think in terms of overall what you heard from these women in terms of looking at the options. And the options are Biden and Kamala versus Trump and whoever. And that could not be more stark whether or not Joe Biden is struggling with his age. Fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, Melissa, I'm interested in what you gleaned from that part of the conversation, but I will note that, there were other women went on to say it was really a range of views, right? Shelley, who also we have clips of Shelley from this conversation, who said she never thought about Biden dropping out, but as the time went on and she saw more of the news, she really thought about the fact that she doesn't think that there's an alternative, and that she brought up on her own democracy was on the line. She talked about the Supreme Court and said that the president would have a number of great people on his team as well. And she thinks that folks should stick with Biden. And Vanessa, also in that conversation, made the same assertion. So, Melissa, I don't know what you thought, but I thought the range of thoughts was very interesting.
Well, one of the things I thought was so striking about this conversation, Mika, was how practically minded these women were. They really felt that this was an existential choice between having a democracy and having something like an autocracy. And Clark said something in very stark terms. They all thought that Donald Trump was unfit to be president. They just really worried if Joe Biden had the stamina, had the vigor, could make it through a difficult campaign season to ultimately prevail. And they said that not prevailing was not an option, that this was a fundamental choice between having and maintaining a democracy, and they wanted whatever would allow the country to get through this.
So some of the women actually said President Biden should not be removed as the Democratic candidate. Let's listen to what they had to say.
For me, my visceral emotional reaction after the 90 minutes was, wow, we need to find another path forward. The practicality of having who would that next person be, getting them on the ballot, raising the money or getting access to the money that has been raised. It feels impractical to change course. And I think at this point, strategically, to rally around our guy who was elected through the process, and he's got the best shot at beating the alternative.
I think initially I didn't think about him dropping out because I was like, what's the other alternative at this late date as far as being strategic and making sure that we have someone in place who will definitely defeat Trump in the fall. And as time has gone on, I'm still with, I think that he should stay in the race because that's kind of the trajectory we're on. And then we all have, because he is not, even though he's old and seemingly feeble, he surrounds himself, namely the vice president, a lot of other people with people who are competent and who will make sure that this country is moving forward. He's not in there by himself twiddling his thumbs. So I'm confident that once he, I'm going to put it out there, wins in November, we will be okay.
So the obvious option, if President Biden steps aside, is the Vice President, Kamala Harris. Here's what the group of women that Melissa and Simone spoke to had to say about the potential of her at the top of the ticket.
I just think strategically at this point, if we were to, on at least the Democratic side, we all know that polling for Vice President Harris isn't as high as we would like, even if all of us, or I can't speak for everyone in here, but, you know, have great feelings towards her and think she's a great vice president. And I just think at this point, is that going to be a sure loss for us if we switch up, or do we hedge our bets and hope that Biden will pull through, at least on the Democratic side? But yeah, I think both of them, I think, in my opinion, I agree with people who say there should be, you know, age limits or just term limits on all of our federal offices. And so, yeah, again, it's
including
just kind of
the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
First of all, Simone, what an extraordinarily thoughtful and dialed-in group of women you found to talk to. They really obviously understand politics well and follow everything here. You worked, of course, for Vice President Kamala Harris, but you hear even in some of those comments a little bit of trepidation about her at the top of the ticket. What was your takeaway?
My takeaway is that, again, these women that we spoke to and the range of women, right? Alexis, who was speaking last there in that clip, she is younger. She's, I would argue, a younger millennial, if you will, who has graduated. She, you know, lives and works outside of Bluebell now, but she's originally from that area. And she represented the sentiment of a lot of younger voters who say, hey, I'm just looking at what is happening out here, my own experience, and these are my thoughts, and this is what I think. So I think that voters, black women voters especially, they are extremely pragmatic. They are paying attention. None of the women in this group are political professionals. They're not activists for the Democratic Party. None of them are running different organizations. They are in business. They are teachers. Some of them are homemakers. Some of the younger women work in marketing and finance. And I really think that what we heard is representative of truly what a lot of black women specifically are saying across the country.
And Melissa, I'll just tap into your expertise. If you guys didn't discuss this, but I'm curious, did any of these women bring up Trump's legal issues the countless counts against him and the things that have already happened in civil court and in criminal court. Does that play into this conversation at all? And what do you make of the recent decisions, whether it be to delay his sentencing and the partial immunity decision?
Well, Mika, we did ask them about the Supreme Court and about Trump's legal troubles. One of the women, Sheila, was a veteran, and she noted that, seeing those documents arrayed at Mar-a-Lago, that was a really surprising move. And for Trump to say during the debate that he had done the most to support veterans while we had those pictures of those classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, that was to her a stunning dereliction of duty. For all of these women, though, I think the Supreme Court is top of mind. They mentioned it several times, unprompted. And they also noted that democracy is on the line. And this was obviously before the immunity decision came out on Monday. But that decision, I think, is a really stark line in the road. If the court delayed on immunity, it certainly gave Donald Trump de facto immunity in the January 6th trial. But going forward, the court's decision really does lay out a scenario where anything a president does, including Donald Trump in a second term, would be prospectively immune from criminal liability. And I think for them, that would have been chilling.
Yeah, fraught times. MSNBC legal analyst Melissa Murray, thank you very much.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn. MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.